virtual wire interface via Panorama. So that is our first topic of the today, where we are going to configure virtual wire interface via Panorama. Previously, we discussed what is virtual wire. It is just like bump in the wire firewall. So it's in the transparent mode, just looking without actually changing the design between the two devices. You want to make sure that how you can actually configure virtual traffic can be forwarded, and you can monitor the traffic between the devices. Now, what are the steps actually? What we can do? So the lab point of view, I'm just going to show you how we can configure. But before we configure, we need to understand how the virtual wire is set up in our firewall devices. We know that in our main devices we have, if you look at this, the logical diagram we have. If you look at this logical diagram, so you know this 113 firewall PA virtual wire is already added into the Panorama, and that firewall has the two interfaces, basically E1 and E2. E1 is in the trust mode, and E2 is in the also in the trust side. But you see, basically these two interfaces are bound together in the virtual wire mode. Okay, whenever we talk the virtual wire, it's just treated as a one. If one of the interface goes down on the switch side, the second interface automatically goes down. So basically, what we want to make sure before the traffic when the traffic is coming from this user, even is going to the internet side, actually, we have dropped one firewall in the middle of these two firewall, and this will be acting as a transparent firewall. This will monitor each and every traffic transparently without even knowing. This firewall has no idea that there is already a firewall in the middle. So that is our design actually. But in order to achieve this is not an easy design. So there are two interfaces we have taken on E113 firewall, which is virtual wire firewall, which is using E1, E2. And they will be bound together. We will be creating sub interfaces later on for everyone. You will be doing this. But basically, you can see this before it reach to the layer 3 firewall. This firewall will be acting as a layer 3, layer 2 later on. But this firewall silently looking all the traffic, and you can apply many policies as well. Okay. So just have a look how we can do that. Now, second thing is you need to understand that this diagram, before we do this diagram, what is the physical setup? So you need to understand the physical setup as well. So in order to understand the physical setup, on 113, we have taken two devices. So two interfaces, E1 and E2. So E1 is connecting to our switch, as you can see. And you can see only these VLANs are traveling here. It's a trunk, but this trunk only carrying 11 and 20. We also have a trunk between the switches. We do not want any trunk to be carried on this side. We just want to make sure that any traffic coming from the switch, from our test machine, from later on, it will always goes to this link first and never use this link, because this is also a trunk link. So that is why all traffic is except for the trust VLAN, right? So basically this traffic will be going into this link all the time, physically set up. Then the E2 is also same as well. It only carries the VLAN 11 and 20. The trunk between the switches will never carry the VLAN 11 and 20, because these are the VLANs we want to make sure that they always use this link. So E1 is connecting to one switch, and E2 is connecting to another switch, as you can see. Okay, so these two, E1 and E2, these are the devices. This is the firewall in the middle of that. So if you look at the diagram we have created, which is this diagram, this will show the real picture. So you see E11.11 and E12.11, they are part of the virtual wire 11, which you will be creating later. One is trust, one may be untrust side. Okay, so this is, and before they hit the traffic in these two, this device in the middle of that, it will be transparently monitor all the traffic from here. Later on, you can just even restrict that okay, I just want to allow HTTP, HTTPS, or a telnet or SSH, something like that. But the idea is all these traffic will be monitored by one firewall first before it hit the layer 3 boundary. Okay, so that is the traffic come from our test machine for VLAN 11 and 20, and 11 and 20 should be going into the actual device later on. So you see this pink. So basically you can see this. There is a trunk link, then carry all the traffic later on from PA110. This is the actual firewall where the layer 3 boundary will be starting. But before that, everything is transparent to the user. Okay, now let's go and configure the virtual wire interfaces. So right now 113 is used. As of now, both these two devices are in the virtual wire. Yeah, okay. 1112. So basically, we need to select. Now making sure which template we need to use, guys. VPN. We need to use virtual wire net zone interface. That's the virtual wire we need to select. And here we will be configuring the interfaces for 113, Ethernet 11, and these are the one. Here, the first one, what we need to do is create a sub interface, create a physical interface. So my interface will be Ethernet slot 1, sorry. Depending on the firewall, later on you will be configuring your environment, but right now you can see E11 is there. Now keep in mind the Palo Alto, once the device is added, Palo Alto will, the firewall will never pull up the interfaces information, routing information from the device actually. Only way it does when you import the configuration in the firewall. Apart from that, when you add the devices in the Panorama, the interfaces configuration will never sync down. So whatever is on the firewall itself, it is, you can see right now, this template, you see VLAN Zoom, it's also part of the, you can see, yeah, it's also part of this 113. However, when you go into this template, it is nothing here. But on the actual firewall, we have 4 interfaces. So here the first step will be we need to create an interface, the physical interface, slot 1, E1, and this will be virtual wire. Right? Similarly, the second one, physical interface. So yes, Michael, we need to choose the template actually. The template, because you see each firewall has a different template for the interfaces networking related configuration. So VPN tab, for example, has this. Layer 3 HO net zone is this. So we will be using virtual. We can use one, but just keeping it separate. Because some of them layer 2, layer 3, some of them are tab, some of them are virtual wire. So that is why we're using a separate. So similarly, we need to create second interface E slot 1 again. And then second interface will be E2. And then it will be done. So these are the two virtual, sorry, this will be tap mode. Sorry, this is the virtual wire mode. By default is a tap mode. Okay, these two are in that tap mode. Now, basically, when you configure yourself, you will be configuring sub interfaces. Now, this is where you need to configure. So basically, if you look at this spreadsheet, in this spreadsheet, student spreadsheet, you need to go into the PA wire interface, INT, and here we have already allocated this the topologies to you. So whenever you configure yourself, for example, Zaki will be VLAN 12, so he will be creating E1112 and E1212 interfaces, and you will be creating 2 different zones, and you see the virtual wire name will be different as well. So virtual wire name will be also created as well, and then 2 interfaces will be bound into 1 virtual wire. So they will be acting, 2 interfaces will be just acting as a 1 interface. Okay, this is how things will be working. So first of all, the first step will be create 2 sub interfaces. Now, because the Panorama did not have those physical interfaces from the firewall, it hasn't synchronized that. That's why we created. That's the first time. Next time, you don't need to do that. Once the devices are added, you need to now do the sub interface. And these sub interfaces, you need to create the sub interfaces E1111. You see, my will be 11. Comments, MAS VLAN 11. Tag will be 11 because this belongs to VLAN 11. Remember this. And then no need IP classified. This is virtual wire. We need to create the virtual wire later on. Virtual system security zone as well later on. Right now, we're just creating the interfaces. Secondly, I need to create one more sub interface on the E12. That will be also 11. Tag will be 11. MAS VLAN 11. So now I have created 2 sub. Similarly, you guys will be creating, let's say Zaki. Let's say Zaki will be, or Michael. They will be creating sub interface E12, E112, and E1212 for the VLAN, right? That's the truth. So first step is to create two sub interfaces. That's the step one. Create zone now. Now I am creating a zone. If you look at the diagram or if you look at this spreadsheet, trust zone, this will be trust zone. And look at this, the type of the zone will be virtual wire. I can add my interface here. Similarly, you need to add your interface as well. That's the step two. So basically now I'm saying untrust and I'm using the virtual wire mode and I am putting my interface E12. So these two interfaces now part of the two sub. You guys will be not creating separate zone because on PA200 you can have maximum 10 zone. So basically you will be using the same zone. However, you will be putting your interfaces, inserting your interfaces into the one second. So you need to put not the physical interfaces but the sub interfaces. The two sub interfaces you will be into the virtual wire trust mode. So repeating the step again. Because the device Panorama does not have the physical interface, I have to add them first of all from there. Then I created based on my spreadsheet here provided in for your consideration. Everybody will be configuring your sub interfaces here and nothing else. But keep in mind they will be virtual wire, they will be VLAN as corresponding VLAN you have done. Second thing you will be doing the zone. You need to insert your zone. Now if the zone is already created, once you create a sub interface, you need to select this, create a sub interface. For example, this will be 1, 2, 1, 2, and you can insert your zone, the virtual wire zone here. Sorry, security zone here. Yeah, that's what you can do. You can create from here or you can create separately here. That's the step 2. Then you need to create virtual wire. My virtual wire will be this one. And my interface will be, these two interfaces will be my part of the virtual wire. And that's it. So now I am creating one virtual. These virtual wire you have to create it. And you need to insert two interfaces, sub interfaces into the virtual wire. So again, repeating. At the physical step, at the sub interfaces, you need to start with sub interfaces in your VLAN. Now you have the virtual wire, then you need to create your own virtual wire. You can create from creating wild interfaces or you create separately. So first of all, you can either go create virtual wire first, create zone first, and then create the sub interfaces. And then while creating the interfaces, you can put them into it. Make sure one interface cannot be part of multiple virtual wire and one interface cannot be part of multiple zone. However, one zone can have multiple interfaces. So that is my stuff is done, guys. So now I have done these steps. Everybody's clear sheet, follow this spreadsheet. If you follow this spreadsheet, your life will be much easier. Okay? Your life will be much easier. And then you will be creating one more thing as well. I will tell you what is that. So what you do is that after you configure this sub interfaces with the VLAN 11, it should be in the trust zone. Second sub interface on E2 for the virtual wire on untrust, and virtual wire 11. You need to create and insert two sub interfaces into them as well. Along with that, there is another thing you need to do. You need to create a policy as well, and you need to create this policy into the via device group. Okay, because keep in mind the via device group is used for the E13. Yeah. So you need to create a one policy, because without creating a policy, your traffic will not be forwarding from this side to this side. So there must be a policy. Okay, we'll discuss this policy. So you need to create this policy into via device group. And how you create this policy? I can create my own policy as well, but even one can be also fine. Description, tag, if you want to give any tag as well later on, audit comments. So most likely, keep in mind, guys, these descriptions are very important. Okay, live environment, I'm telling you, this is very critical, important for you. When you create a policy, the best practices are, because I'm facing few challenges from our customer right now, what they are saying that, for let's say last year you created a policy, we just want to audit trial why we created that, who requested, something like that. So I can say dated, I think for the dated I can go back that 19th, sorry, what is the date today? 16, 17, 16, sorry. Okay, so let's now, for example, audit trial, MAS, V-wire policy. That's it. So this will give you the audit trial. Somebody can see who has created, maybe change number as well. Because in the live environment, you will be having change number. Let's say. Okay, that's the change number. So because of this, you can go into the system after 6 months, 1 year, and you can see who requested, why requested, what actually they allowed. You can keep audit trial. That is very important. Soon, my trust, and even I'm putting the trust for both ways. Any source, any traffic, the traffic is coming from both sides. Even traffic is initiated from the trust zone or untrust zone. These policies, any application, any services, and you will see I want to send the logs as well. And this is the target. This is the policies you need to create. So again, look at the policy, name of the policy, source, yeah, and then you can see apply the application, and you can see that policy is working. Okay, now why I said the source zone can be trust and untrust either. The reason will be that the traffic either can be generated by trust side or either generated by the untrust side. Both will be allowed. Now, first of all, when we create these things, now these are the steps, guys. That's the steps we have. We have done. We have done the virtual wire. We have done the zones. We have done the interfaces. Clear? And now, first thing is I will be pushing to committing to Panorama. We have configured to send to the Panorama. Second step would be we need to send to the push to the devices. So you can see whatever the template you have made any changes, according to that it will be applied to these by default, go into these devices. You can edit selection, you can remove selection, you can validate the device group push, and you can validate the template push as well. Edit selection. Now you see automatically it's applied to this firewall, because the reason is because the template and default groups are applied to templates are applied to these firewalls. So it's picked up from there. Whenever you make changes under the interface, use force template value, push it, and then push this. So I'm pushing this to 114 or 113, sorry. So that is going on. Let's wait. It will be referring to your spreadsheet. So when you open this spreadsheet, it has many information like switch connectivity, firewall password. This is the third spreadsheet. Yeah. In the spreadsheet, we already put your name. Look at your name. Look at the VLAN you have assigned to you. Look at the interface you need to create according to which virtual type. It's trust VLAN. Okay. And I think there is a configuration guide anyway. Look at the configuration guide as well. We have already created. Then the virtual wire as well. Your test machine has already been assigned 10.250.11. You can access this through RDP, remote desktop. And how to get the remote desktop? You go into the search bar and type MSTSC. MSTSC will open the remote desktop for you. In this application, you type the once you have the VPN, you can type the, and you can see I can log in. So when I try to, you see, if you want to, you can use our Active Directory username password. You can use the local, this computer. For this computer, you can use this administrator and Cisco password. Okay. Okay, the configuration is failed. Interesting. If you want to see why the configuration is failed, you can go into the summary and look at the device 113. And here you can see this commit failed, template commit failed. You see this? That's what he said. So it shows you why the commit has been failed. Missing a parent virtual wire defined with the two physical interfaces, then the virtual wire 11, but without sub interfaces, error VLAN virtual wire. That's what it is, the problem. So that is why we created a problem for you, so you can understand if that has happened, how we can fix it. So basically, you need to put the parent interfaces into the some kind of a virtual wire as well. So Michael, hold on your configuration, please. Virtual wire, I'm just creating one more virtual wire, and I'm saying this parent, and I'm creating this 1 and 2. 1, 1 and 2, right? Parents, right? Let's push that again. So again, forcing this and pushing the configuration to devices now. So everybody clear why it was failed? Because there is no parent profile has been configured, parent virtual profile, virtual wire has been configured. Look the device configuration after pushing from the Panorama. Second step is pushing the devices. 99% almost completed. Let's see what is the status right now on 113. Depends if it's completed or failed. So let's see how we can see it. So when I can push this configuration for Panorama, look at my username, Panorama Mads. Okay, successfully committed and changes. So virtual wire, I can see that's what exactly. So these are the parent profile on this profile 113. This is my profile. I have created vwire 11. These are the zones I have created as well. And you can see this is from stack interfaces itself. These are the 113. I think somebody has already created. Thank you. You can see these are the three. These are the also we have created the policies. Okay. So you can see this policy, and you can see it's grayed. It can't be changed from here. It can be pushed. It can be only done from the Panorama. Okay. So these are the steps to configure the virtual wire from your Panorama. Anybody has any question? Any question right now about virtual wire? The testing point of view, we can't test it right now. The reason is because as it's a virtual wire, once we create the layer 2, layer 3 actually interfaces on our other devices, for example here once we configure the layer 2, layer 3, then we send the traffic from here 10.1.11.100 to 10.240, then you will see the traffic will be hitting. Okay, so wait for that step. Anybody has any questions?